My name is Brian Terrell with B. Terrell Group, and I appreciate you for joining our webinar today. As professional service companies, we all struggle with challenges that are unique to our industry. How do we increase project profitability and margins? How do we maximize resource capability and utilization? How do we prioritize projects? And then how do we make sure everybody has access to a single version of the data? These are very common themes in the professional service industry, but they do not have to be so troublesome. Keyed-in Solutions exists to help drive business performance with cloud solutions and has decades of experience in building and delivering value. In fact, their co-founders are the former CEO of Epicor and a former executive vice president of Worldwide Sales and Services. Their impressive client list includes companies across the globe specializing in anything from logistics consulting to talent management to IT outsourcing. We are thrilled to have Karen Adami, the CIO of Keyed-in Solutions, with us today. Karen's remarkable 26-year multifaceted career allows her to understand technology, interpret financial metrics, and strategically apply her knowledge and experience to find solutions to business challenges. I'm excited to hear her perspective today on how to manage the issues mattering most to professional service firms. Karen, thanks for joining us, and I'll let you take it from here.
Great, Brian. Thanks for the very wonderful introduction. I feel so good now. So welcome to everyone. As Brian mentioned, what we'd really like to do today is kind of walk you through some of the issues that you as professional service companies face and, how we can go about solving some of those problems. And the perspective that I'm really bringing as the CIO of Keyed-in Solutions is, we are a, SaaS cloud software provider, but we also do have the professional services side, of the entire business as well, and how we saw those challenges and some of the ways that we've gone through and solved some of those different problems with some different solutions. So as we start talking about the challenges on the next slide, there's really, when you look at it, there's a really big major challenge that so many of us have, and it's all about these silos of information. So often, companies have one system for their CRM, and then they're doing something completely different on the financial side, and somewhere in the middle, somebody's, filling out a spreadsheet to give you expense tracking or time tracking. And we have all of these different silos, and it's a real challenge now to not only manage each of those silos individually. You need different skill sets, you need different knowledge, you might need different, platforms you're working on, things like that. But then it's bringing all those silos together and being able to really report from a management standpoint across those different pieces of information. As we talked about at the beginning, how can we be more profitable? How can we provide better service delivery to our customers and all of those aspects? And when we really don't understand what's happening in our business, and we really don't have visibility across those different aspects, it's really very difficult to, to provide that delivery that people are looking for. So really, when we take, this one major challenge, if we look at what that does to us on the next slide, it really is a big drain hole sucking a lot of our money down the drain. And that money and those funds are a variety of things. It's revenue we're not capturing or billing properly. It's the delay in billing that's costing us money then because we're not collecting from our customers. It's the money we're spending internally across all of these different systems and all of the activity and the time that it takes, and to get all these things together, we really are sucking a lot of money down the drain. So we've talked about kind of this one big challenge, but really there's a lot of small challenges going on as well. From a C-level, you as a CEO or, CFO, again, we're looking at this management information. That's my challenge. How can I get, decisive information that's going to help me be proactive and make decisions? But the smaller challenge inside all of this is that there are so many gaps in our execution. So if we look at those execution gaps, you know, we've got that data redundancy. So you've got a finance person creating a customer record. You've got a salesperson creating a customer record. You've got, you know, a project manager creating a customer record. So you've got all of this data duplication. It's inconsistent. How many times have you gone from one system to another and looked for ABC company and one person created it as, you know, A period, B period, C period. And then the other place they just put ABC, and of course none of the lookups work very well. All those kinds of things that really cause a lot of a lot of anguish for all of us. Really, just the overall quality again of that information is typically very low because of all those inconsistencies. You're constantly, you know, trying to manually build reports and map data back and forth between those. You know, it just really causes a lot of problems. And again, you really have no control over this now. Again, because everyone's doing something differently, there's just no controls. There's a lot of overhead. You know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, there's a cost to all of that overhead. There's a cost to what you're delivering, but then there's also the cost to all of that overhead. And really, that smaller challenge inside that big one is that gap of the execution. Because not only do you likely, as you know, the company have a CRM solution and a financial solution, but you probably have people in your organization that are using any tool that they can find in order to do their job. So they may be storing all of their customer documentation on SharePoint. That's what one person does. The other has a thumb drive with a bunch of Word documents. Someone else is doing their project plan in Excel. Someone else is giving you project status in PowerPoint. It's impossible to manage when everyone within your organization is all, you know, are all doing different things as well, and no one's addressing the solution in the same way. So that really becomes the smaller challenge inside the bigger one. And then, you know, how are we going to bring all of these things together? So as we move on, you know, we really kind of break down this information into 3 key areas. So we start out with the sales cycle. So this is where, you know, typically your CRM solutions are going to come into play. So as I'm going through the process of looking at opportunities, I'm trying to, you know, bid out those opportunities, understand what I should be charging the customer for that. Am I going to do it, you know, fixed fee or milestone or time and materials? Who's going to work on these projects, or what type of people are going to work on these projects? You know, that really all becomes part of the sales cycle. And when you've got that silo of just CRM, what happens in this process? Well, you may go out, be talking to a prospect. Oh, this is great. Yes, we can, you know, maybe you're an accounting firm. We can do your audit in 30 days, no problem. What you fail to know, though, is that every single person on your staff is fully booked for the next, you know, 4 months. So it's having that visibility. So by having sales kind of off on their own, while they're, you know, can gather the costs and things like that, they really aren't in a position to actually be telling the prospect when they can deliver and what the timing will be and who or what type of resource will be involved in that project. So that's where it becomes very critical to start bringing all of these tools together. So that sales cycle needs to have visibility into the project side. What's my availability? What kind of resources? When can I deliver? It needs visibility into the financial side. Is this a customer that maybe already exists? Or client, you know, the client that hasn't ever paid their bills. That would be nice to know as well. So it's important that we start bringing those things together and start intersecting that data. And the key thing here is that we want to make sure that we're not rekeying data and all of these different aspects are integrated. I think actually if we back up one slide as we talk about the project delivery. Thank you. So we've talked about kind of the sales side. Now we want to integrate that into our projects. Now in our situation internally at Keyed In Solutions, we do use a CRM solution. We do use Salesforce for CRM. We have now worked that into our project delivery side. So we use Keyed In Projects in order to do all of our project management, all of our delivery management. So as we go through the process of creating and working in an opportunity, we've set it up so that when we get to the negotiation stage, it creates a project for me in Keyed In Projects. There are a variety of templates that we've created, and every company can define what does a kind of a typical project look like based on the type of client, based on the type of work. You can create an unlimited number of templates and then have those templates be used to generate, the basis of your project plan. Now that I've got that in my project system, now I can start looking at what are the available resources? How many people do I have across my organization? Where are they? When are they going to be available? What's the time frame for me to be able to deliver that particular project? So that really starts this whole visibility and gives me a lot of that management information so that when I go out and I bid that project, I can be upfront with the client and say, you know what, I can start this in 30 days, I can start this next week, whatever the timing is, but I'm delivering the right message with the right information to it. So we've now tied kind of the sales side in and brought those projects in as tentative, planned projects so we can see across our company what that impact is. So there are a lot of tools within the project system that you want to be using for things like the capacity of your team and who's available, setting up projects with specific roles. So, in this project, I'm going to have someone who does, who does the elements of documentation, and that's a different person than maybe my trainer. So I can build all those roles in. I can assign people to those different roles. And again, it gives me all of that visibility into that. Now what happens is we've taken the CRM piece. We've kind of tied it into our planning from the project side. We win that deal. Now we have a project we can start working with. So now we're going to be able to address all of the project deliverable side as well. So things like time and expense management, our task plan, the deliverables we've promised the customer, what kind of report, what are the milestones that we want to hit within that particular project. How am I doing across all of my projects? What do I have that's late or outstanding? So now we can take that project we created from an opportunity standpoint, turn it into a project, and go from there. And that really then ties us into the third book, the little circle there, the financial effectiveness. So in our scenario, and what we're talking about here, is using an Intacct financial system. I have a finance background. Intacct is a great financial solution. And when you bring all these things together, it really expands and brings the whole story together for you. So now we've got the information coming out of the project system, being fed into our financials. So at the end of the week, everyone's entered their time in. That automatically is going to go into the Intacct project accounting side, and now it's going to let me bill out that project. Again, it might have been milestone, it might be time and materials, but I can automate all those processes. So if I'm going to bill customers once a week, guess what? I'm actually going to bill customers once a week. I'm not waiting for the consultants to enter in their time on Friday and then waiting for somebody to come into finance on Monday morning and run a report and rekey data into my financial system, keeping customers in sync, all those kinds of things. So that really helps us along those lines. The other thing that's very critical with that is not only the billing and then tracking through the collections and all of that, but in today's finance world, as many of you have probably found out, there's a lot of rules around revenue recognition, and it can be very complicated and quite convoluted as to, if you've got a fixed fee project, at what point can you recognize the revenue? Or if you're billing on milestones, when can you recognize the revenue? So the beauty of bringing all these systems together now is that your project manager can work in the project system, focus on the project, focus on the resources, and doesn't have to be worried about the revenue recognition, because we're going to create the contract that says this is fixed fee, we're going to send it over into Intacct, and then Intacct is going to handle it from there. Now there are elements within Intacct of project accounting, but I think that's the key word there. It's project accounting that's in Intacct. What we want to use Keyed Projects for, and what we use Keyed Projects for, is the overall project delivery. So let's look across my entire organization. I might have offices in different geographic locations. I might have 10 consultants. I might have 1,000 consultants. And having all of those tools to really help me manage the different projects at different levels is where the project delivery and the Keyed project side comes in. We'll use Intacct for the project accounting and then for all of the financial reporting against that as well. So it really closes that whole circle of life there, if you will. Start into my CRM system, find an opportunity, feed it into my project system, into Keyed projects, look and see how it's going to fit. Do I have the right people? Do I have the time right? Do I have the resources? Is this a project I want to take on? Win that deal, start going out there billing, tracking that information, generating the revenue as quickly as you can and as accurately as possible in order to go and maximize that revenue. So again, by eliminating that execution gap and those silos of information between all these systems, we've really addressed a lot of the issues that you probably are dealing with today. So if we look at how, what elements kind of travel back and forth between those, that'll be on the next slide. We'll see that there are different elements that cross the different solutions that we're working with. So I've left out kind of the CRM piece here, but I'll touch on that as we, on the slide, I'll touch on this as we do that. So some of the key things are, again, that single point of data creation. So when I go to create a customer, I'm going to create that customer within Intacct, and it will become a customer in Keyed projects. If I change their billing information in Intacct, projects gets updated accordingly. I am not doing any duplication of data or effort. And if I do have a CRM system, that feeds into that whole data synchronization as well. So I'm always talking with the same information as I move between my different systems. The other thing that will be key on our project execution side are the employees that we have. Again, what we're going to do in this environment is we're going to go into Intacct and we're going to add in employee records. That helps me on the financial side. Now I've got the employee in Intacct. I can reimburse their expenses, track their time entry, those types of things within that. But again, that's going to be tied directly into Keyed projects. I am not going to have to go in and create a record in Intacct and in Keyed projects for that employee. Some really handy things as well, for example, within Intacct, as I set up an employee, I'm going to track who their manager is. So from an approval process, who's going to approve their time and expenses. If I change that in Intacct, the next time somebody submits their time, an email will go to the new manager to say there's time for you to, or for you to approve. I'm not going to have to go in and, oh no, I forgot to change it in here and it's changed over there. All of that goes away. So that's very critical to this whole process. Again, same thing with the projects themselves. I'll create the projects in Keyed projects with all of the parameters that I need for billing, and then they'll send over to Intacct. So when I enter in time and expenses, I'm ready to go and bill all of those things and reimburse my employees and so on. So we really do have, any data that's common across the systems will be automatically synchronized without any intervention on any user's part. And as I said at the beginning, this is our solution. This is exactly what we do, and it's just a huge benefit to have that kind of data synchronization. The one piece in the middle there, I just kind of wanted to mention the multi-entity, multi-currency. If you are in an environment where you do have more than one legal entity and you need to track those, that's absolutely fine. If you do any work in different currencies, perhaps your office is in New York, but you send employees to do consulting up in Canada, or you have a branch in Canada, not a problem at all. All of that multi-entity and multi-currency is supported, and as Keyed Solutions ourselves, we do have employees in Ireland, in the UK, in the US, in Sweden. We have customers that span the globe, and we're able to track and bill in all of these different currencies as well. So having all of that, that integration is really very key. And the last slide that I've got here really is just a little graphic of, what does this all mean? Well, it's everybody's working together. Everyone's, doing their part, pushing their part of the gear, but there's no, there's no fighting about, you didn't set that up right in your system and my system's right. All of those things just go away, and everyone can really focus on the job that they've been hired to do, whether it's a consultant out in the field, or whether it's, the CFO working with all of the data. And so it's, having all of that integration and all of the functionality that you need from a professional services company is really crucial to help you be successful, increase your margins, generate more revenue, and just be much more effective overall. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Brian.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate all that great information, and it does look like we've got a couple of questions for you. Do you have a moment to hang with us and address those?
Absolutely.
Okay. Here's one that we get a lot. Maybe you do as well. Our customers and prospects that are evaluating or currently using SaaS cloud solutions are always asking about the security of their data. So let me just ask you that, as if maybe we've all never heard the answer expressed or answered before. How secure will our data be if it's stored in the cloud?
That is, you're absolutely right. That's a very common question, and it's a very pertinent one. I would worry about it myself, but obviously I'm a cloud provider, so I know what we do is very safe. One of the benefits of having a solution that's in the cloud is all of the safeguards that go around it. We go through a very, very large company that does all of our, hardware hosting and infrastructure. And I personally went on a tour of their one of their facilities last year, and I think I had to give blood and all kinds of things. They weren't letting anybody in there. The data is absolutely secure up in that cloud environment. All of the things like your disaster recovery, your data backup, all of that is covered. And it's kind of an interesting, discussion to have as well, because a lot of people, you hear about the Targets and the Home Depots. They actually had their own environments that were not secure. So just because you've got a computer in your office doesn't make it secure. It's really all about everything that goes around it that really makes it secure. And that's certainly an area that, we're very focused on. We've been delivering cloud solutions for many, many years now, and, I've never had any kind of an issue, any kind of security breach, anything along those lines that would jeopardize anybody's information.
Excellent. And it just reminds me that very few of us as small to medium-sized businesses can focus the amount of resources that the data hosting provider that you contract with for your application and data for keyed-in solutions. We're just not able to match that.
Absolutely.
The weak link may be this yellow sticky note that I have on my monitor with my password on it.
With your password? I think we all have that. So, yeah, and we've gone through especially a lot of the larger organizations that we work with. They have very, very detailed called InfoSec, which is informational security questionnaires that we have to go through. And we've got a partnership with KPMG in the UK that we wouldn't be there if they weren't comfortable with the security of what's up there in the cloud.
Yeah, they've got processes and audits and administrators and double checks and triple checks, and as you mentioned, probably retina eye scans,
Yep.
securing their data. So it's really, I actually look forward to that question, and I just think we knocked the ball out of the park, and so you did as well. So thank you very much. Another area that a lot of our prospects and clients are focusing on now is mobility of data and being able to access a cloud or SaaS solution on multiple devices. And so I just wanted to see if maybe you could address keyed-in projects and your other solutions' ability to be made available through different devices as well.
Right, and that's a big conversation that a lot of people have. We've actually just been having some meetings internally with our management team talking about all of the devices. We sat in this room and looked around, and everyone had, I sat there with my phone and my iPad and my, Duo laptop, and everyone's got different devices. Our CEO has cut herself down, to an iPad and really wants to do everything mobile. So to completely understand where people are going with that. And that's really the beauty of the cloud solutions as well, is that they are available on, any device, kind of anywhere, anytime, as long as you have, of course, internet access. But, whether you're launching the full Keyed-in Projects user interface and want to do some work with that, you can do that on different devices because it is just a browser. But we also do provide mobile applications. So for those people that you may have out in the field, we've got we've got a Keyed-in Projects app that runs on both the iOS and the Android devices, and it allows people to just enter in their time and expenses in a very simple UI. The expense part's really cool because, and I use it myself for my travel, and I can enter in, it's just the date, what type of expense, the amount, any comment, and then I literally take a picture of the receipt with my phone, and it attaches to that transaction. And when I'm done, I just save it, and I, submit that batch of transactions, and I'm done. And I never have to deal with it again. Some people I know that I work with, they literally will get their receipt from Starbucks, and before they, take their first sips, they've already submitted their expense for it. So a lot of different mobility options. Again, both just accessing the standard UI through different devices, but also the mobile applications for time and expense.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's another ball you guys have hit out of the park with your support, not only for access through a browser, but also through an app that's native to either Android or iOS or a Windows platform. And
right.
So that's what we're seeing in best-in-class applications built for the cloud from the ground up, which is the types of applications that we support and are successful, and that our prospects and clients are demanding. So congratulations for dotting those I's and crossing those T's as well. I'm looking at my chat window, and I'm not seeing any additional questions coming up, but that's appropriate since it's about the bottom of the hour, which is our commitment to our attendees to wrap it all up. And so I'll end by just saying thank you so much, Karen, for your executive level presentation. We appreciate that, and we'd like to thank you as attendees for taking time out of your day to join us on the webinar. If you're like me, you've learned some valuable information about how to manage the issues mattering most to professional service firms. Karen has shared a case study with me that represents a prime example of an Intacct user who now benefits from the various points that Karen talked about in her presentation. So I want to make that available to you for attending this webinar. So if you'll send a note to me at brian@bterrell.com, or you can send it to the generic email address info@bterrell.com, and just make sure you note in that you were at today's presentation, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that case study as soon as possible. And just because the chat window's closed now and we're wrapping up at the bottom of the hour, if you've got any follow-up questions that either expound on what we've discussed today or even expand on what we learned, I hope you'll send those to me, either to me directly at brian@bterrell.com or at info@bterrell.com. We'll make sure those are addressed, as well as make sure that a copy of this presentation is made available in the next couple of days for those in your organization that were unable to attend. So once again, for Karen Adami for Keyed-in Solutions and their award-winning cloud-based application Keyed-in Projects. Thank you to Meredith Gooch, our producer today, and for all of those that have joined us. Thank you again for another successful webinar delivered to you by B. Terrell Group. We look forward to our next presentation in about a month's time. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you then.